Hey, it's Phyllis Sinclair. It's a Conspiracy is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. For more fun programming, please check out albertapodcastnetwork.com where you can find some shows like That's the Thing.
Nothing sounds so good as morning laughter.
Welcome back, everyone, to It's a Conspiracy. This is the podcast where we lay out the beliefs behind selected conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. I'm your host, Andrew, and I do not claim to be an expert on anything we are going to discuss today, and will probably be wrong about everything as usual, because I recently purchased an air fryer and literally can't think of anything else. Even right now, while I'm talking to you guys about this, I'm thinking in my reptile brain, like, what else could I fry? You know, how long would that take? What would it taste like? Have you guys tried out an air fryer before? It's just the best thing in the world.
No, I deep fry or nothing, Andrew.
Oh man,
get it together, brother.
Yeah, it's incredible. So easy, and you can put anything in there and fry it up. Anyways, so this is our Canada Day special. We are Canadian, and we are coming to you from in and around the Edmonton area, Edmonton, Alberta. We acknowledge that we are located on Treaty 6 territory and respect the histories, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our vibrant community. If you'd like to see where we dug up whatever maple leafs we're going to discuss today, then please check out the resources in the episode description. Charlie trudges up the snowy mountains, followed closely by a pack of wolves uphill both ways to deliver those tasty treats, and it's only fitting that you sing his song of glory. Lastly, we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Yay team.
Yay, ATB.
You can check us out online at our website, It's Conspiracy Podcast. Our Twitter, Is It a Conspiracy? That's run by the Irish Madman. Our Facebook group, the Instagram page, It's a Conspiracy Podcast. That's run by Gorgeous Greg. Our email and our Patreon page, patreon.com/It's a Conspiracy. Yeah, we're still trying to. Okay, that's all right.
You're not trying very hard.
Joining the online distance communication time today is Gorgeous Greg, Charming Charlie, and our special guest friend Phyllis Sinclair.
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going really good. I'm so glad you joined us. Oh, this is great.
Why, thank you. This sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope I can keep up with you guys.
Oh, you're already ahead of us. So these polite folks will interject as they see fit, and I do appreciate their digital distance company, and I'm glad we can do this together. Phyllis, one of the things is we often are it's like all guys, just guys all the time. It is rare that we have ladies.
Well, you
on the
need
show.
woman power once
We
in a while,
absolutely
right?
do.
Oh, every day.
Yeah. All right then, Charlie, with a yes or no, can you tell me if you've heard of either, I should have said trither, there's three, trither of these theories?
Let's do it.
Number one, 10 fun facts about Canada.
I know some, but I don't know if these are the ones.
Okay, do you know the fun ones? These are the fun ones.
Fun ones. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll see.
There might not be 10. There's fun, but there's some. I always write 10. There's some fun facts about Canada. Number two, did Canada burn the White House down that one time?
Yes.
Okay. And number three, easy things you can do today for truth and reconciliation.
I mean, that's so broad. How do I? Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about it, man. We're going to talk about it. So here is subject number one, 10 fun facts about Canada. Okay, Canada. Was it a country before 1867? Yes. Were there people here for thousands of years? Yes. Mm-hmm. Is it odd to consider the collective agreements around colonization and imaginary borders as the beginning of a country as we know it? Yes, it is odd. So, for sure. Thank you, British people, for granting us permission to exist. Thanks a whole bunch. We were a place before they said so. Anyways.
Was that
July
one
1st,
or like three facts right off the bat?
Oh, we haven't even got to the facts yet.
Oh,
That's
really?
just the opening.
1, 2, 3, punch.
I heard
Boom.
20 right there.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's just the punch out the gate. July 1st is our national day, and here's a few interesting / fun things about Canada. All right, number one, the word Canada is derived from the Iroquois word for village and is roughly pronounced as Canada. I think that's how you say it. Early French explorers used the term to refer to what is now Quebec City. Also, we know it looks like Quebec, so sometimes if people say it as Quebec, but it's supposed to be pronounced as Quebec, and it's kind of funny to refer to people from Quebec City as Kebs. Yeah, the Kebbers, the Kebs. Number two, for years, Canada Day was called Dominion Day, as we were, for maybe a little too long, officially the Dominion of Canada. This lasted up right until 1982 and was changed along with the Canada Act. So 1982, that is 20 years before Greg was born. And yeah, a lot of Canadians referred to July 1st as Canada Day, even like before that. It was called Canada Day for a long time, but it was officially Dominion Day until 1982. The number three, the CBC introduced color television on July 1st, 1967. And everyone could finally watch the Beachcombers in their full colorous glory.
Was that the first thing they showed?
No, I don't know what the first thing
No,
they showed.
the first thing
I
they
have no
showed
idea.
was everybody singing Canada. Remember that song?
Was it really? That was the first thing they showed?
I don't know.
All right, I'll get, yeah. Number 4, 2020 marks the, do you guys want to take a guess how old this is, the birthday?
153.
153. Good man. Okay.
Good guess.
Number 5.
I saw it at the store the other day. I'm
Saw
sorry.
it at the store. No, without
Cheater.
the store.
How many sodas?
So July 1st, 1923, the Canadian government brought the Chinese Immigration Act into effect and stopped all immigration from China. So this is 1923, almost 100 years ago. Chinese Canadians who had been in the country for generations began to refer to July 1st as Humiliation Day and collectively refused to take part in any celebrations. This ridiculous act was repealed in 1947, which sounds like a good thing, unless you consider that in 1947, the Canadian government was simultaneously rounding up Japanese Canadians and sticking them in internment camps. So they were like, sorry about that Chinese thing. Okay, let's get you Japanese guys in the camps here. So, yeah, one step forward, 2 steps back. Number 6, Charlie's favorite Canadian, Pamela Anderson. She was born on July 1st, 1967, and that was the 100th anniversary in Ladysmith, British Columbia, and was briefly celebrated when she was a baby as the Centennial Baby. Did you know that, Charlie?
I did not know that. I
Yeah.
just follow her career from VIP on.
So she was really, there was like a big deal when she was a kid. I think she was born just after midnight or something like that. So it was like the first baby born in the
New Year.
That's it. She was bound for glory.
We got a frozen Andrew.
Oh, yep.
Frozen pal. There he
Ah,
goes.
there he is. There he is. He's back.
back.
Buddy.
Hey,
What's up?
Everything all right in the bud?
sorry about that. Holy man. Okay, so the best I can do now is I'm on my mobile phone, my computer. It's not coming back on. The power went out really quickly. Okay, so okay, here we go. I think this was number 6 or number 7. Yeah, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan not only has the best CFL team, but they also have a tiny and very polite version of the Dead Sea. So it's Little Manitou Lake in Saskatchewan has an unbelievably high mineral salt concentration, and the water is super buoyant. You can jump right in, and you're not going to sink. Have you guys ever been to Little Manitou Lake?
Never heard of it.
Nope.
It's super cool. Like it's in Saskatchewan, and so you gotta go there, and but it's really fun. Yeah, you can jump and float. It's really
You
fun.
think that's a negative point?
No, I'm not saying anything about that. I just you got to go there to go there. Yeah.
So speaking of
nice to hear-
Saskatchewan, do you know what it means?
I don't know what Saskatchewan means.
Take one guess. It's a town in Saskatchewan.
Does it mean Saskatoon?
No, Saskatoon. No.
Does it mean-
swift current.
Oh, Swift Current.
There you go.
Yeah.
Really? Speedy
Saskatchewan.
Creek.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny.
That's my contribution.
A friend of mine in Winnipeg once told me, she's like, Swift Current is a funny name because there's nothing swift or current about that city.
Poor
wow.
Swift Current.
Yeah, I know, just picking them when they're down. So Charlie's favorite superhero, which comes from his favorite comic book company, Clark Kent, a.k.a. Kal-El, a.k.a. Superman, was co-created by a Canadian, Joe Shuster, and an American, Jerry Siegel. Obviously, the best parts of that co-creation come from the Canadian guy, the polite parts and his whatever. But yeah, we're not going to argue about that, but it's very true.
We're not going to
That's
argue about
okay.
that,
It's
but it
fine.
sounds to me like someone's been catching up on their Canadian heritage moments.
Oh, man, totally.
That's where
Weren't you guys doing a special on your Canadian Heritage Moments on L2L?
On our Learning to Listen Patreon, we were having a segment where we were breaking those down and rewatching them now that we're
Adults.
way older and like being like, oh, you know what? I remember this one, but I don't remember it being as, whatever, or I don't remember it being as great.
Yeah. Do you remember the one about Superman?
I totally do, and we did rewatch that one, and it was like, okay. I think
Yeah.
in the show or in the commercial, he's talking to a lady named Lois, and you're like,
He's trying to impress her, yeah.
that's supposed to be
Yeah.
where Lois Lane came from, but that's a little bit
And
of the Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't know if that part of it is true, but I know that the guys, the original creators, they had some different ideas for Superman. So, for example, he couldn't fly, and years later, he got some weird powers. Like in the 70s, for a short amount of time, he could actually shoot a miniature version of himself out of his hand, like a tiny little Superman would fly out of his hand. Yeah.
Mighty
Superman's
Mouse.
the worst.
That was
Yeah,
Mighty
that
Mouse.
power got taken away later on, but it got written out, whatever. Yeah.
Well, they just replaced it with that his shield coming off and wrapping up that guy in the second movie.
His cellophane-esque. Yeah. I will never understand that as long as I live, like the logic in that, but yeah. Okay, so number 9, or is that number whatever this is? We're near the end.
We're close, yeah.
Canada is the second largest country in the world, right after Russia. And our capital, Ottawa, is the second oldest capital city in the world. So I was really surprised to hear this. So of all the capital cities in the world, Moscow is actually the oldest capital city. Ottawa, which is in Ottawa, Ontario, is the home of the Ottawa Senators. And sadly, that's my wife's favorite hockey team. That's a little tragic. It was founded in 1826, and it comes from the Algonquin word Ottawa, O-D-A-W-A, which translates to no trade. So this beautiful city is at the meeting point of the Ottawa River and the Rideau River and the Rideau Canal, and it was like a big important trade point, and the Algonquins called it no trade for some reason. So that kind of cracks me up. Like it was an important economical center, and it was called like, let's not do business. Cool city to visit. But if you guys have ever been to Ottawa in the summer, it is brutally hot, it's super humid, and it's just freezing in the winter, but it's like a really pretty old city. Yeah. Number 10. So lots of famous people are from Canada. And if you are in the company of anyone from another country, we as Canadians are compelled to point out that someone, if you're listening or watching something with a Canadian, you're like, that person's a Canadian. It's a weird phenomenon. It unites us all. Like if someone's talking about The Handmaid's Tale, we have to be like, did you know that Margaret Atwood is Canadian? And if somebody, did you know that Alexander Graham Bell is Canadian? But there is one notable exception to this. And I would put this person in one of the biggest celebrities in the world. And he's rarely pointed out as being a Canadian. But in 2012, the Immigration Minister of Canada declared officially that Santa Claus was a Canadian. So he wears red and white to symbolize Canada. He has a postal code, so none of this zip code stuff. He has a postal code, HOHOHO, and he's really nice to everybody. So he's clearly a Canadian.
Does he pay Canadian taxes?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It is true, though. Isn't that odd? Like if we're watching something and it's like, if Ryan Gosling comes on, even in our heads, we're like, he's Canadian. And like, it just,
That makes
it just
him
has
better.
to be.
10%.
It does make him better. It's
Every
kind of
once in
nice.
a while. Every once in a while.
Okay, so that will take us to ad number
That's because
1.
everybody's American.
Everybody's American, totally. And our best ones are always go to the States for like
That's
that
right.
movie stars.
And that's why we say, hey, he's from Canada.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Kyle,
I'm Dave.
And I'm the machine.
and we do a podcast called Kyle and Dave versus the Machine.
It's a podcast where a sentient machine is forcing us to watch movies in order to prevent it from initiating the apocalypse. Although, Dave, you and I tend to talk about the ideas of the movie rather than the movie itself.
Well, it's the machine's fault, like everything, and by effect your fault, Kyle, that you've invited me, and this is the only thing I like to talk about.
I mean, I'm not going to face the apocalypse alone, so you seem like a good patsy to bring along with me.
If you wanted somebody that was going to give you some hope, you picked the wrong person.
Kyle and Dave vs. the Machine is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network powered by ATB. New episodes are out every Friday.
Okay, cool. So that's going to take us to subject number 2. Did Canada burn the White House down that one time? 1812, you saucy little minx. A few months ago, CNN reported that Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump had a brief discussion regarding the 208-year-old war, which resulted in Trump asking Trudeau, "Why does my wife find you so attractive?" That's a joke. Sorry, Trump asked him, "Why did you guys burn the White House down?" or something. And there was a flurry of activity, and history nerds around North America all collectively pushed up their glasses and collectively said, "Well, actually." So the answer is simple. Yes, in 1812, there was a skirmish over maritime rights, which resulted in the White House being burnt down. No, Canadians didn't do it because there weren't any Canadians to technically Canadian until 1867. Yes, the soldiers that did the burning were from British colonies in what is now known as Canada. No, it was actually 1814 when they burned the White House down. And yes, many Canadians have a bit of prideful glee that lights up in their hearts when we talk about burning the White House down. So we're not inciting violence, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of a nice little, yeah.
We did that. So watch out.
Yes, that's right. Just watch it. Don't burn it down again. 2012, Canadian Prime Minister and complete vacuum of personality, Stephen Harper, spent millions of hard-earned tax dollars for a massive commemoration of the event. So one government ad read, 200 years ago, the United States invaded our country, but we defended our land, we stood side by side, and we won the fight for Canada. And that it didn't actually happen in 1812, and a lot of people were quick to point that out, and Stephen Harper was just, I spent money on this. So 2 quick musical notes on this. Some people have insisted that the Tchaikovsky's overture, the 1812 overture, like with the cannons and everything, was inspired by the War of 1812. It wasn't. But what was inspired by this particular skirmish was the American national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. So Francis Scott Key wrote the words to the song while watching Fort McHenry in Baltimore being bombarded by British ships. And that was part of the same operation that ended up seeing the White House get burned down. So Americans, you're welcome for inspiring your anthem. And nobody knows anthems better than us. We're the best at anthems. And yeah, just believe us. Yeah. Nobody.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Just taking some hot takes here. The truly staggering thing about the War of 1812, which actually ended in 1814, was that the two sides came to a peace agreement because they were too broke and didn't want to keep fighting. So that's a concept we can incorporate today, methinks. Like if we're broke and we don't want to fight anymore, let's just stop the fussing and the fighting. So anyways, that's a roundabout way of saying, yes, maybe Canada possibly burned the White House down in 1812, but it was 1814 and we didn't really, but sure, we'll take credit for it.
We'll take credit for it, yeah. Jeez.
It sounds like we want to take credit for it, right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, yeah. And my computron is turned on again.
Run, tiny hamsters, run. Run faster on your tiny hamster wheel. Give him the power.
You need more hamsters.
It is, there we go. Okay. Enough with this. I'm going to cancel.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
So it says my internet is unstable. I don't know if you guys see that or not.
No.
No, just
That's okay. I'm not going to take that personally.
it says our Andrew is unstable. What does that mean?
Oh, hey. It means I have feelings, Charlie. That means, yeah, I have, yeah. Okay, so
What
that's
were we
going to take
talking
us
about?
to add number 2. We were talking about the White House getting burned down by some Marines a long time ago.
Just checking.
The Well Endowed Podcast by the Edmonton Community Foundation. It's hosted by Andrew Paul and Elizabeth Bonkink, produced by Elisa Pruden. It explores the impact of passionate people who are working to make Edmonton a strong, vibrant city to live in. The Edmonton Community Foundation helps people create endowment funds. The podcast tells the stories of how these endowments intersect with the community. Subscribe at thewellendowedpodcast.com. That's thewellendowedpodcast.com.
Okay, so subject number 3, and I'm really excited about this. Easy things you can do today for truth and reconciliation.
Do it.
Okay, so we are really lucky to have our friend Phyllis Sinclair with us today. And Phyllis, did you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
What can I tell you real quick? I'm Swampy Cree from northern Manitoba, up on the coast of the Hudson Bay, on the west coast of the Hudson Bay, a little town called Churchill. But our traditional territory is actually around the York Factory area.
Okay.
What else can I tell you? I've lived a lifetime of different jobs and stuff besides doing music, and I guess that's it. Really, I continue to do music and like doing it, and happy to be here.
It is so nice to have you here. That's perfect. We can talk about this first, and then we can have a song if that works. I guess before we get into this, can you sort of tell us if someone was like, what is truth and reconciliation? Like, that's kind of a like, what would your response be if someone said, what's truth and reconciliation?
Well, I think I would say it's very difficult to reconciliate if you don't look at things truthfully, basically. And I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about our history because they've not taken the time themselves to look into, the historical facts. There's a lot of hearsay, there's a lot of people believing what other people said, and it leads to all kinds of misnomers and misunderstanding. And I think truth and reconciliation really means finding out the truth for yourself. And when you find out the truth for yourself, then you can maybe, chew on it and say, okay, maybe I need to straighten out this thought or that thought about what I thought about this particular piece of history or piece of legislation or piece of something that I had no idea about before. And I think that's really important because, I really think that from school age on up, we really need to teach our kids more about the history instead of allowing people to tell the kids things that lead to more misunderstanding down the road. So I think it's a matter of education. I think it's a matter of finding out the truth for yourself. That's what truth and reconciliation means to me, because when you find things out for yourself, then you can have a little bit more compassion and say, okay, maybe I wasn't thinking along the right lines, or maybe I need to sort of change the way I think about that. So that's what truth and reconciliation is to me.
Right on. I came across the late singer Gord Downey from the Tragically Hip. He had established the website. He was really touched by the story of Chani Wenjack, and I'll put that in the episode description. That's a very moving story about residential schools, but it's not just about residential schools. So the new Downey Wenjack website, a bunch of things listed that it's like, if you want to do something about truth and reconciliation, like, it's where do you start? And like Charlie said, it's like, this is so broad. So they came up with a bunch of different things, and I just picked 10 of them that I was like, I think that's something that we could do even like tonight, just right now, just sitting in our seats. It's not that challenging. And feel free to chime in, all of us, but just let me know what you guys think of this. So here's a few things. I think I said 10, but there's not. These are things you can do. Okay.
You've really been great at counting. So.
That's right. The counting is not my, just not my thing.
Such writing.
I put down dashes, and I always forget to put in the numbers. Okay. Our first one here. Never dress, act, or do activities that reduce a group into or a stereotype. If it's not accurate and respectful, it's not okay. The second one. Don't misuse anything of religious significance or cultural meaning, even if you don't understand exactly why. If you're not sure why something is sacred, then just do a bit of research. That's maybe like, you can be like, if someone points out that something is of significance to another culture, stop and find out what it is. And that just takes a couple minutes. I mean, the Googles are right there, and the Googles can help you out.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people are afraid to ask because they don't want to sound silly or appear ignorant of these things. So, it's okay to ask. And, in Aboriginal culture, there's so many different groups across Canada, and even within that there's a lot of different dialects. You have Northern Cree, you have Southern Cree, you've got all these different groups, and everybody has different protocols when it comes to their different ceremonies and so on. And so even when I go to, for example, a Southern Cree ceremony, I watch to see what their protocols are, because they might be a little bit different from what I'm used to where I come from. And even the dress might be a little bit different or whatever. So it's okay, it's okay to feel like, I don't know what's going on here,
Yeah.
It's all right.
So, and the next one here is never appropriate someone else's culture as your own, not even as a demonstration. I do have a quick question for you about this. So cultural appropriation is such a thrown around thing. So for example, we were recording in Edmonton a couple years ago, and you had a big basket of Frybread, and I was like, oh, this is so good. And I went home and I was talking with our friend Kaylee about this, and she's like, I've never made it before. And the next time I was over at her place, we tried it out, and I was thinking to myself, this sounds ridiculous, but just like we were saying, there's no silly questions. Is something like that an example of cultural appropriation? And she is Indigenous, but at the same time I was like, this is neat and I want to try it.
Well, that would be just like me saying that I couldn't have French fries, right?
Right. That there was something offensive about that. How dare you?
Yeah. How dare you have my French fries? No, I don't think so. I think, everybody's going to have a different opinion. But when it comes to food, I think, why not? I mean, if you want to know more about Indigenous people, why not try their food? Why not try a recipe? As long as you're saying, I learned this, it's like give credit where credit is due. Right? That's the way I see it, So if you want to try Frybread, try the Frybread. I've had different people ask me for my Frybread recipe, and I'm happy to give it, because to me, it shows interest. It shows I don't want to steal this from you, but I'd like to try it. I'd like to share it. So, it's okay. But everybody's different. Like I say, I think you just sort of have to ask your host or the person that you're getting it from, would you mind if I tried your recipe out? They're going to say, no. Or yes, sure, go ahead.
I'm not going to tell you what it is, though.
yeah, you might not share it, and that's okay.
You'll skip it. You'll skip one of the
main
ingredients out, right?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Being an ex-cook, chef, whatever you want to call it, one of the best ways to get to know a culture is to eat the food and eat food with the people of that culture. It's a great way that there's a wall just breaking down, because everybody eats. Right?
Yeah.
And everybody knows good food. Everybody, it's a universal language. Everybody knows it. So
yes, and there are chef shows on TV now, right? That show the different traditional foods. There's
so many.
I can't remember that. There's one popular one that we watch sometimes, but of course it's so popular I can't remember the name. But moose meat and marmalade is what it's called. Moose meat and marmalade.
Okay.
And basically that's what they do, is they take things from nature and they cook it up. And these guys are chefs, right?
That sounds
on
delicious.
TV, so I totally agree with you, Greg, that's a great way to get to know a culture. It's the same way as wanting to learn a few words. Like when you can understand a language a little bit better, you appreciate the people a little bit better.
100%.
Right? You kind of
100%.
know where they're coming from. It opens your mind to how they might be thinking, because language really is it changes how you view things. Like, for example, me being Cree, it's a very visual language, so my sense of humor is really quite slapstick, if you want to call it that, because
stuff.
when I what I find funny are things that are really visual. So I say that I don't have a quick wit, because I don't worry about wit when it comes to humor. But that's all part of the Cree language and how you say things and how you express things. So if you want to know how a Cree thinks, try learning a few words in Cree, right?
Yeah.
Same thing.
That is amazing. How many Indigenous languages do you think are in? I know there's a lot.
If
you took a guess.
Well, I'm going to say over 100 for sure. because I'm just thinking about some of the places that I've worked and lived in. Even in those areas, there's so many different dialects of different languages that, I should have did my research and gone online and said, there's 346, but I don't know that. But I know there are quite a few, and
There's
unfortunately, there have been some that are, dead, and some that are dying on the brink of extinction. And it's really important that we try to, save some of these languages. There's a great fellow on Facebook. He's called Cree Simon Says, and he's doing a great job on Facebook using the Facebook format to help people who have forgotten the language to learn it back. And he gets you to say not just words but sentences and how to say things. And so it's really good that way, because it helps, for me anyway, look at that website and I go, that's right, I forgot that's how you say that.
Right, yeah.
So, we need to save the languages too.
Absolutely. And if you don't have people speaking it, you're not gonna be able to save it. The next one here I have is ask yourself, if I were a member of the group in question, would I be offended by this? So take history into account and just turn your empathy on full blast and be like, what would, try to look at it from somebody else's perspective, learn that point of view. And it's hard to set ourselves aside from this. Like it's hard to forget that I'm a straight white middle-aged dad, like all those things are things that I it's hard to put out of my head, but it's important to just turn on the empathy and just try my best to, and I'm not saying I'm terrible at this, I try to all the time, but you really do have to just put yourself in somebody else's position.
And we all have to do that. It's not just non-Aboriginal people that have to do that. We all have to guard ourselves, right? We have to guard our tongues from saying things that might be potentially even offensive to somebody else or hurtful. So it's, even for myself, I work with a lot of people that are non-Indigenous, and I work with people who are from other cultures, and I'm always very, I think about how I might feel if I heard something like that, and like, what would you say, so that you don't hurt somebody else's feelings, So I think that, we need to all do that as human beings.
For sure. Take the time to listen to what Indigenous people have to say. Far too often we assume their perspective and the actual beliefs and values are overshadowed. So it's like, I've seen some Canada, whatever those history moment things, and I think I can put the pieces together, and I don't really need to listen to whatever this is. So the Downie Wenjack website and a couple of other ones that we'll have in the episode description are full of places you can go to hear accounts of people, and again, not just of residential schools, but of accounts of life in general, of current life, of traditional ways, everything. There's, it's not just what's this one trauma that's happened. There's one channel I really like on YouTube where this guy talks about the stereotypes around natives, and he's like, I have student loan payments, all this kind of stuff that he and you just kind of preconceptions.
He equates.
Yeah, he's he explains it away, and I'm like, this is so funny. Yeah. If you're sharing culture with colleagues, friends, and family, then don't start with cultural genocide and residential schools. Indigenous people are not defined by being victims. In the long conversation, we'll have a part to play, but you don't have to start there. You can start. You can start with something else. Yeah.
It is such an easy place to start, though, right? Whenever you start talking about Native people and their history, it's such a big thing. It's such a big, you just can't avoid it. So it is an easy place to go. So, but you're right. We don't always want to talk about those things. We are trying to heal from that and to move on. And there are lots of other things we could talk about. There's all kinds of great singer-songwriters. There's all kinds of good chefs and all kinds of things that can kind of lead conversation into a present place and into a future place, rather than if you keep the conversation in the past, that's where you're going to stay. So, try to bring it to today and in the future as well. So that's, you can kind of, this is where we're moving.
Yeah. Not forgetting, not looking past it, but just moving forward. Yeah.
No.
And this is one that I really, really like. If you're in Canada, then look into what Indigenous people were traditionally living in your community. So it's really easy, and it's a fascinating look into your community's history. Once again, there's a link in the episode description that will show you who was the traditional lands of your home. So, for example, off the top of the podcast, and I should point out we don't do that every time, but I wanted to make sure we included it in this episode, that we live on Treaty 6 territory, and it's really cool. Like, I looked up this interactive map, and it showed where traditional hunting paths through there. Very, very cool. Yeah. Probably the most important one here, don't buy into stereotypes. You know, like, stereotypes exist, and there are plenty of people who totally fill that stereotype, and you think, oh, that's just confirmed right there. But that does not excuse buying into a stereotype. The big thing we can do right now, just sitting in our chair, is just be like, okay, like the stereotype that I have about something, and we all have biases, but we just have to kind of stop ourselves and be like, is that, you know, are my preconceptions really necessary when I'm thinking about this here? Yeah. What do you think about that? When people think about stereotypes, like what's one way that they can address that in their sort of mental?
Boy, how can you address a stereotype? Ooh.
That's a heavy question. Yeah.
It is a heavy question, you know, because I think, you know, just put aside your preconceptions and the things that you've learned or heard about or whatever, and get a fresh take on it, and talk to this person as an individual, and get to see where they're coming from, and talk about where they are today, and just put aside anything that you may have heard about, you know, Native people are this, or, you know, like, we're poor, and, you know, we should
Yeah.
you know, we have all these social problems, and we do, you know, but that doesn't make us all people with problems and having lots of socioeconomic, you know, situations that we have to deal with. Like, we're not all like that, right? But I mean, there are those, and there's good reason for it, and that brings us back to that whole passing again, but we're trying to move that forward. So I think just try to deal with the person where they are at the present time, and try not to bring anything in, like, go with a fresh head. I really don't know what more to say about that, but it's hard for everybody. It's hard for me too. Like, I mean, it's so easy when we meet somebody from another culture to kind of put together really quickly things that we know so that we can feel like we can relate, right? So,
and if you don't know, oh man, just, yeah, some of the silly things you're going to say, for sure. That's a fantastic answer. I knew you'd just nail that. So thank you very much.
I did. Thank you.
So did you feel like playing a little song for us?
Well, I can try.
Okay.
I can try. You guys are all fantastic musicians. I feel like such a neophyte in front of you.
Oh no! And Charlie can beatbox behind you.
Don't worry
about it.
Boots and cats.
I will refrain.
Okay.
As hard as it may be, I will refrain.
Okay, so what I'll do for you is I wrote this song a couple of years ago because I was watching the news, and there was another story on about the missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. And even myself, I thought, oh, you know, I wonder what's new to what they're saying. And I wanted to hear if there was anything new besides there just being another missing and murdered Indigenous person, because I never hear any updates, like what's going on, you know, is there anything new going on here? Are we finding any cases? Are we getting any closer to solving some of these, you know? And I found that a lot of people were sort of desensitized to this whole thing because we've heard it so many times that I thought, no, that can't happen. We should feel uncomfortable when we hear about people who are being murdered, and it happens far too often, and they're not found, and that kind of thing, especially being First Nations woman. So I thought, I'm going to write about this, but I wanted to write about it from a perspective of a mother who has no closure. Because when you lose a child, or you lose anybody in your family and you lay them to rest, you've got closure, and you can kind of say, okay, now, you know, we move on, and we know where our loved one is laid to rest, and we can go visit and that kind of thing. But in these cases, you can't. And I wanted to write it from a perspective of having lost someone. And when you lose someone, you know the feeling of, well, you'll get it. I'm not going to do any fancy intros or anything like that. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Mama's gonna find her baby by and by, won't let you lie out in the cold, down some unhallowed road, undignified. Unhallowed road, undignified. Miss you, my baby. I miss your smile. Sit on your empty bed and we talk a while. I reach my hand out into space, close my eyes to touch your face, but I'm denied. Touch your face, but I'm denied. Every night it's the same old thing. Look out my window and I start to sing. I wonder which direction that I just haven't tried. I'm on. I will, I weep, I cry. It's my unforgotten lullaby. Unforgotten lullaby. My little baby, it's turning cold. Reach in the closet for your faded winter coat. I pull it close to keep you warm. Hold you deep inside my arms. You're not alone. In my arms, you're not alone. Every night it's the same old thing. Look out my window and I start to sing. I wonder which direction that I just haven't tried. I'm on. I will, I weep, I cry. It's my unforgotten lullaby. Unforgotten lullaby. My little baby, where can you be? Every night I hear you cry out in my sleep. I sit up straight and listen close. Was that the wind? Was that your ghost crying out for me? Was that your ghost crying out for me? Every night it's the same old thing. Look out my window and I start to sing. I wonder which direction that I just haven't tried. I'm on. I will, I weep, I cry. It's my unforgotten lullaby. It's my baby's lullaby. It's my unforgotten lullaby. Unforgotten lullaby.
That was so great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so nice. Oh.
Yeah, well, thank you. You know, like I say, it's a little bit, the lyrics are kind of uncomfortable, but I wanted it to be that way because I don't think that this should be a comfortable topic. I think it should make us all uncomfortable.
With that, I've always wanted to ask, and this seems like a good time to just kind of get it out of the way. If we have Indigenous friends, neighbors, colleagues, everything like that, is it insensitive or inappropriate to be like, hey, happy Canada Day, oh, how do you feel about that? Like is it, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot there. It's kind of
there is a lot there, because I think, a lot of us feel that we're sort of left out, right? We feel left out of that whole process of really like, okay, so we're part of the treaties, and it's kind of like, here's your $5, which has never increased since the time of the treaties. We still only get $5. It's never kept up with inflation. Who's going to stand in line for $5, right? A year? It goes nowhere. So I think there's a feeling of, yes, we're proud of Canada, and we're proud that we're a part of that whole thing. But at the same time, I don't think there's enough recognition of our participation. I've always said, Richard and I went to tour Scotland a few years ago, and it was my first time overseas. And I was really impressed when I landed, because I saw all these things that were cultural, that identify that you were in a different country, like they're the bobbies, the cats, the cabs, the little black cabs, and the architecture and the bridges and everything else that let you know that you were in London, England. And then there were things that let you know that you were in Scotland, the street names, the towns, and names of the towns and all that. And you really felt that you were in a unique place. So we fly back to Canada. We're flying over Greenland, over northern Canada. We land in Edmonton, and we got to the airport, and I thought, there's nothing here that tells me that I was a part of this place becoming what it is, you know? And I really felt that. So it's not that we feel any animosity in a great way. It's just that it would be nice to have a little bit more recognition. So I think that to say Happy Canada Day, sure, why not? But I think you just have to gauge who the person is and how close you are to them. Some people even have some feelings about Indigenous Persons Day. That's kind of like, they just kind of gave it to us because, they needed to do something. And a lot of people don't even celebrate it. But the way I see it, I try to take every advantage I can to spread more information and to make people feel more comfortable. So whatever I can do, like posting my little quotes on Facebook, for Indigenous Persons Week, that's my way of saying, okay, like here's something you might not have known, but I'm going to use this to my advantage to help you be able to identify with me a little bit better and make us more brothers and sisters.
Totally.
So, I don't know. That's a tough one, the Canada Day. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. That would be a tough one if somebody said Happy Canada Day to me. I would probably say Happy Canada Day back. But inside, I'm going like, well, I don't see anything except a red and white flag, So.
Yeah, that's very true.
But I don't say that to offend anybody. But I think there is something missing, and I think we do have to work at that a little bit better.
Yeah. That's something to keep in mind. Oh, thank you so much for joining us. That was, again, just the perfect response. These are hard questions, and sometimes it's like you just feel awkward and you can't.
Well, you do, and the thing is, like, even for myself, I don't feel like I can speak for everybody because everybody has a different opinion. I mean, you take a look at a cross section of Canadians; they're going to have all kinds of opinions about the government and the Prime Minister. Nobody has the same. Nobody, two people are going to have totally different opinions. I think it's just a matter of being sensitive. Like, I mean, whether or not I voted for the Prime Minister, that doesn't mean that I can't respect somebody else's opinion, or if I didn't, or vice versa. I think it boils down to a matter of just respecting each other. Really, that's really what it boils down to.
Those are wise words. Oh, thank you very much for that, Phyllis.
It was fun. It was fun chatting with you guys.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I ducked out in the middle for like a little. It's like, oh, Andrew's going to.
You don't know what we said about you while you're gone. We had a good time.
Little did you know we started our own podcast without you, Andrew.
Okay, well that's just that's okay. I really do.
Place.
But yeah,
that was great.
thank you so much for everybody just stopping by and listening. Please feel free to rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell your foes, spread the good word. And if you are heading out tomorrow, just celebrate.
Enjoy it.
I guess
Hey.
this is going to come out today. So when you're heading out today, celebrate it, but consider everything that's going into it. And then, just
Stay out of trouble.
Watch your thoughts. Your thoughts become actions or whatever.
Social
that thing is.
distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just stay home and watch things on TV. That's probably a better idea. Yeah. Phyllis, is there anywhere that we can find stuff for you online that we can...
Well, I do have a website, phyllissinclair.com. I don't put an awful lot out there. I am on Facebook, and I think that's probably where I'm the most active. That's all it is, PHYLLIS.
Okay, thanks again. You can check out all of our past casts and social media stuff at itsconspiracypodcast.com. And we will be back later in the summer with a few more specials. Thanks for listening, and see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Get up in the dark, light up the stove. Just another day to carry my load. Frost on the wood, ice on the cold. Just another day to carry my load. Just another day to carry my load. Lift the pail from the pine wood floor. Just another day to carry my load. Pour on the heat till the water rolls. Just another day to carry my load. Just another day to carry my load. Fill the tub with the preacher man's clothes. Just another day to carry my load. Hide the stains from the Holy Ghost. Just another day to carry my load. Just another day to carry my load. Hang the shirts in the merciless cold. Just another day to carry my load. Roll them in from the clothesline pole. Just another day to carry my load. Just another day to carry my load. Fill the pails for another load. Just another day to carry my load. Tired don't pay for bread and coal. Just another day to carry my load. Just another day to carry my load. Get up in the dark, light up the stove. Just another day to carry my load. 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 Just another day to carry my load.